We're going to own our mornings. We're going to be like, this is what we do. We're going to wake up an hour before the rest of the family. We're going to sit and be in peace for at least an hour. We're not going to touch our phones. So no digital stimulation till at least 7 a.m. or an hour after you wake up. If you're a doctor or something and you got to check it to see if someone's dying as a patient, sure, whatever, but try to avoid it. And in that time, we're going to write or read. And we're going to do some sort of a physical check-in. And then we're going to own our evenings. After dinner, you have to put your devices away and you can't go back on them.
What's good, fatherhood? Welcome to this episode of Uncommon, the Dad Work podcast with Pat Barber, the Father's Guild. It's been a while since we've caught up, but it does feel like it was just yesterday. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, stoked to be here, man. I genuinely had no idea it was a year and a half plus. Like you said, felt like just yesterday.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly time goes. And I know a ton has happened for me in my life between the last time that we talked and today. And I imagine that a lot has happened for you as well. What's been going on these past 18 months for you?
18 months, huh? Well, I would say that I have a pretty good life. All things considered, if you take into account you know, the actual things that I have as a human being, I'm saying like literal physical things that I have. But then even outside that, when you look at my own health and my mental health and my relationships and my cognitive capacity, like everything I have, I think I'm doing real good. But I would say the last 18 months has been a bit of a stress inducing time. And, I ended up in that period of time having a job get kind of pulled out from under me that I was quite committed to and enjoyed. But I got so much from the interaction that I had at that job that I was able to then transfer some of that confidence into now pursuing my own stuff with in a same vein as I was working, which was coaching development, and then also putting a little bit more effort into the Father's Guild, which has been a side project and hobby for me for a long time. And then about 8 months ago, or actually I'd say 6 months ago, I was like, I'm still too distracted. I have too many things going on. So I refined even what I was doing then and got rid of some of my coaching development stuff, which is honestly the area I'm the most proficient in because that is what I've done for 20 years. And decided to invest my time, efforts, energies, and life into the Father's Guild and making it a tangible business, which has been a very, very new process for me that promotes a lot of challenge. Like it's sink or swim is all on my shoulders. And it's a new world of providing something for people that is of value, but that I can then charge for and feel confident in doing so. And wrestling with my own feelings of inadequacy as well as fear around failure. But all of it leading you and I talked about very briefly before we started, all of it's fantastic in terms of these kinds of stressors are the only way that we grow as long as we can step back and give ourselves the ability to recover during them. So that's what I'm in right now. I'm like neck deep in stress, but like joy. Like there's my whole life is really good. There's just some pretty very real financial stress and pressure to succeed in an endeavor that has no guarantees at all. Which brings its very real challenges, but real challenges are the best because you have no option. You have to succeed or that's it.
Yeah, I feel like once you make that step, and it sounds like you made a big step to really do this thing on your own now, it's like you
Mhm.
step out of the zoo and now you're in the wild. You
For
take
sure.
away all the safety nets and you're like, there's no more safety harness. Here we go. I'm going to do
For
this
sure.
thing. It's not
For
without its
sure.
challenges, and it is the challenge, like you have said, that really opens the potential of growth.
Mhm.
How have you balanced everything through all of that? I know a lot of guys are afraid to make a big step like that, also struggle with this insecurity, this imposter syndrome, if we want to call it that. They're like, who am I to do this? And then trying to hold it together as there's that financial insecurity, like, okay, I'm here to provide for my family, but that's a lot of pressure. And a lot of guys struggle with getting that on their family, that stress of that.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Couple questions there. Let me think. I think the how I've handled it is I've become significantly more disciplined in the things that I can control. I'm recognizing for my life there is, and this is kind of going to lead into a bit of the hero's journey stuff that I talked about, is like I'm recognizing that I can own my mornings and I can own my evenings. Basically be in control of those two times, and then the middle of my day is kind of like that open-ended, I need to do work. So I need to figure out ways to maximize that time. Now, when I was working for other people, that time was filled with my time working with other people. But the time where I'm now working for myself, I'm doing the same thing. I'm really owning my mornings and my personal development and my space and my mental space and my relationship to my phone and my relationship to vices and my relationship to substance and everything in between, and my relationship to myself, and then spending my time during my midday being intentional, and then my evenings like basically owning that too. So I think that the biggest thing that has helped me is I've really committed to some very healthy habits during this time of extreme stress. so
Right.
so that has really set me up for success, which is ironically what I've come to understand as what I want to help offer people is how to handle a life of extreme stress, because like we don't get to escape like these times. There's always going to be times where we're put under the pressures of life. And now it's about owning what we can and taking responsibility for that. So we can get into that in a bit, but that's the first part of answering is like how I'm handling it physically and kind of emotionally and psychologically is through those owning in the morning, owning in the evening, and then throughout the day, staying intentional and challenging myself where I can. And then when it comes to taking the step for things like the fear of the unknown of stepping into providing and that kind of a challenge is I kind of built my life to where I was always doing work for other people in some way or another. So I had a couple different little revenue streams, and it it kind of always supported me just enough to where like because I've never been like fully thriving. Um, but it got to the point where I let go of potential and let go of these few things that I was doing that I was putting some of my time into, and kept just enough small streams to not to like give myself a 6-month runway of like I'm going to really get into this and get after it. And that was through 20 years of leveraging the same job and being in the same positions and like working my butt off on a property to where I built an Airbnb spot on it to where now I can rent that out, and kind of scrapes off some of the stuff. I mean, there's still like we're going backwards each month, but I'm not at a place where I'm going backwards at $50,000 a month. It's just like a thousand or $2,000 a month. I'm continuing to go backwards, but it gave me enough of a runway to be like, well, I don't see any other option. Like I need to pull the trigger here because the every time I've worked for other people, there's been a time that has let me down. So I need to make this. I need to make this run on my own, and I'm mature enough and good enough now to do so. Um, so that's how I handled that. But to face the imposter syndrome, the third part of your question, my imposter syndrome was a weird one because I could objectively say that I'm one of the best in the world at what I do. There are very few people that are as capable as me when it comes to dealing with other human beings and coaching them through learning and leadership and all of that stuff. I've done it for 20 years in the fitness space and then the leadership space. And so I'm objectively very good at this. And I know that. And everyone I've ever worked with has said exactly the same thing. So I have tons of mounting evidence that tells me I'm good. I have, it's not, there's not an unknown there for me about my quality of my work. But to ask people to pay me for it, that was my hang up. Is like, I know I'm good. I can tell you I'm good. And I'm not being arrogant when I say that. I could tell you I'm really good at this and I could tell you exactly how I'm good at it. But for me to then go, you should pay me for it, I would always just feel bad. And I basically had to do some searching and some work and some deep journaling, and I had to spend some time with a buddy of mine who's an unlifted coach. He does in the soft talk world and doing all that kind of stuff, basically unpacking the story around that. And I'm like, I only did one session with him, and it was enough for me to be like, what are you doing? You know, like what? And then you have to build evidence supporting like your ability to ask people for money. And that's what I've been doing for the last, 5 months. And it's still uncomfortable of like I just, in order for people to pay you, you have to ask them to pay you. That seems pretty straightforward. But for me, I'm like, no, if I'm good enough, they'll find me. If the link exists somewhere on the internet, I'm like, that's just not how it works. Like you just have to ask. And we're in a day and age where I thought that was dumb to do, but it's not dumb to do. It's smart to do. And the people who get paid are the ones who do that. So if I believe in what I'm offering and I ask people to pay me for it, there's no shame in that. And that was my own hang up. That was my own story. So that was the final thing that I had to work through, was this dissonance between how good I knew I was and my ability to offer, tell people to pay me for it. Um, and that took some work. That just took some focus and some energy and then effort, the actual action. So it's not just thinking about it. It's like doing the, now give me money, and having people say radio silence. No, like that's okay. You do that enough times and eventually people start to pay you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whether you're coaching, or I've got guys that make knives, guys that are blue collar jobs, they do remodels, guys that do drywall. It's an uncomfortable thing for guys in every single profession, is to say, well, here's how much I think I'm worth. It's hard to see the evidence sometimes, and then to ask for that and say, well, here's how much the investment is for you. That can feel real scary.
Super scary. But just like my dad said when I was growing up, what's the worst they could say? No. Like that's literally the worst they could say is no. And you're like, oh, okay. Like when you take that on board, it doesn't immediately change the fear, but it's like, these are the skills that you learn in asking girls out when you're young. It's like, what's the worst thing she could say? It's like, no. It's like, yeah, it's that simple, but that no feels like a blow to your character as a human being. And it's really not. It's just like, that's that person's thing, like it has very little to do with you. Maybe you didn't ask in the right way. Maybe, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
Maybe it was the wrong moment. Maybe you didn't ask the right way. Maybe there was a cloud in
Hmm.
front of the sun, whatever. I think about that,
Yeah.
exactly what you just said, all the time with my wife. And there's no reason why she should have said yes to me to go slacklining in the forest preserve when I approached her at the gym that I worked at, because she talked to me at the restaurant that she worked at. There's no reason she should have said yes after she said, no, I'm good working out on my own. Now we're married. And I think about that all the time. And I'm like, if she said yes and we're still in this, no can ever shake me. Like, I already won. That took a lot of nerve for me, and we did it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. Well, there's some good evidence supporting that it's worth it for you to ask for things.
For sure, man. So I want to dive into some of the practices that you brought up. I think of them as ritual. It's not just a morning routine, which can be a whole bunch of like cool biohacker things to self optimize, and I don't like that. For me,
Yeah,
it feels like ritual feels right, because it's a collection of
absolutely.
things that I do to make myself sharp and fit to serve. my wife, my children, and the men that I serve as well. And that's what it sounds like I'm getting from you as well. You can control your mornings and your evenings, and that's what you can control. So I'd love to dive into that. What this is that you're building and what that
Yeah.
might look
Okay.
like.
For sure. For sure. It's a really interesting one for me specifically to be building because I was a night owl who loved to just watch videos till the wee hours of the morning my whole life. Like ever since and I was like 16 and I got a computer in my room, like I'd be either up playing video games late, or I would be, watching shows till late or researching stuff on the internet or doing whatever. And for me, the when I became a man and an adult, I tried to do similar. I would work really late. I would stay up. I would postpone stuff during the day, and then I'd plug stuff out till 12, 1, 2 in the morning. And I'm now a father of four, right? So I want to be healthy, body wise and mind wise. And part of my journey in, being a better man and father was learning to journal and learning to self reflect. And that was kind of the first step, is like learning to self reflect is huge. I always did it naturally, but writing is a big difference than thinking. So like thinking about how I could be different is a jumble of words. Writing about how I could be different forced an articulation that doesn't exist when it's in your head. And the actual act of it is very, very profound. So that was one of the first changes. That happened about 6 years ago for me. And once I unlocked a bit of that, it allowed a framework for developing more intentionally. Because when you're just thinking about stuff over and over again, especially if you've got an ADD style brain like mine, which is thinking about 1,000 things a minute and none of them are congruent or connected, there's very hard to make any tangible forward progress. But when you're forced to articulate it and write it out, and then read it and then think about it again, then look at it again, and then a couple days later or months later look at it again and go, I wrote that, that's pretty good, that's actually kind of profound, how can I incorporate that into my life now? Like that changes things. So that journal process was really important. Now the hard part for me is when people had asked me to journal before, is like I'd try to journal at night and my brain just didn't work. I was like super done with the day. Unless I was like particularly inspired, I'd sit and I'd be like, what's something you're grateful for?" And be like, I don't freaking know. Like, air. I like air. Breathing is nice. And so it just felt so hollow every time I did it because it wasn't coming from a place of true inspiration, but it was still meaningful because I was writing, right? And occasionally I'd go off on a tangent and, I'd get a better prompt or something and it really caused me to think. Um, and honestly, if I'm thinking back on it, what started this all off was when I was working for the last company I was working for, my whole midday was taken and I couldn't do anything in that time. So I needed to find some time where I had some of my own time, that was just for me. And I realized that that would have to be in the morning. And I'd heard about all these people waking up super early, but it was often framed in the like, wake up early and train hard and do your breath work and the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, I can't. I'm like a bag of turds when I wake up in the morning. I'm not, I'm not training hard like that. I'm not going to go for a run. That's crazy. Like I'm so far away from that that I was like, okay, well, what if I did wake up early? What would that look like? Is that possible for me as this night owl fella? And the way it actually kicked off was during it was like towards the tail end of COVID. I ended up getting COVID, and I woke up at 3 a.m. and I couldn't go back to sleep because my hips hurt so bad. Like because the COVID affected me as like really deep hip pain. It was like hip and joint pain in my low back and hips, and I was like to the point where I was so uncomfortable just rolling around. So I woke up and I was like, well, screw it, I'll work. So I like sat down and I wasn't going to work on my thing that these other company was paying me to do. I was going to work on my own thing, which is mainly the Fathers Guild stuff. And I was like, and all of a sudden I found like I was really inspired and I was really like, I had a lot of thoughts and I'm like sitting there writing and I'm pages and pages and I'm just like, well, this is great. Like and 3 hours goes by and nobody's awake. Like it's just me. And I'm like cruising doing my thing. And I was like, what a cool time. Like, and it's peaceful and it's like there's just like this sense of calm. And so I used that as inspiration and then slowly moved that into essentially figuring out a time that I could wake up. And I tried a bunch of different times. I was like, okay, 6 a.m. Okay, I'll try 5:30. Okay, I'll try 4:30. And like I finally settled on, for me, if I set my alarm at 4:30 and I wake up at 4:30, my family doesn't truly get up till about 7:15. My wife will wake up pretty early around 5, but she just comes out and reads her book. And I get this opportunity, and this is what I'm helping people with the hero's journey, is you get this opportunity in the morning, you wake up, and if you're up an hour before your family, preferably more, you just have this time to be with you, this time to have peace, this time to, not have any responsibility. You can read a book, you can make a cup of coffee. I personally turn my sauna on and then wait 40 minutes, then go in my sauna and then jump in my cold plunge. But that's not necessary. It's just a thing that I happen to have that I enjoy. And like you said, there's a ritual and there's a habit around it that's super intentional. And it just sets your day up for like basically being able to go in and do the things that you don't have full control whether or not you have to do them. You have this morning that's totally free. You can do whatever you want. And in that time, if you stay unstimulated, and what I mean by that is you don't whip out your phone and start scrolling, you can have this mindset where you're just at peace in your being and your thinking, and your brain can wake up and kind of everything can happen in a way that it feels so much more wholesome and satisfying. And so I really realized that that was huge for me. And I want more people to have this. And so with that focus, I always throughout my life have challenged myself to do things. And what I'll do is I'll say, like, okay, this month I'm going to do this, or this month I'm going to do this. And I think men naturally appreciate challenge. I think lots of people naturally appreciate challenge, but um, if you frame it in a challenge, then you have this bit of like extra reason to do it. And so I've always done that with myself, whether it be a journaling challenge or a mindfulness challenge or a no swear challenge or a eat a certain way challenge or a avoid alcohol challenge or whatever it is. There's all these little things that we tinker with, and all we're doing in those tinkering is adjusting the relationship we have to the thing. We're being like, okay, what is my relationship to this? What's the context around it? Can I modify this relationship so it better serves me? And what I did when I was trying to figure out something I could offer men that I thought would be meaningful, I was like, why don't I just offer them what's been meaningful to me? What we're going to do is we're going to own our mornings. We're going to be like, this is what we do. We're going to wake up an hour before the rest of the family. We're going to sit and be in peace for at least an hour. We're not going to touch our phones. So no digital stimulation till at least 7 a.m. or an hour after you wake up. If you're a doctor or something and you got to check it to see if someone's dying as a patient, sure, whatever, but try to avoid it. And in that time, we're going to write or read. And we're going to do some sort of a physical check-in. And then we're going to own our evenings. So the way we have it on the hero's journey is after dinner, you have to put your devices away and you can't go back on them unless it's like family movie night or your wife wants to watch a show or something. Like that's okay because it's communal, but there's no solitary dive into a screen, go in deep, research stuff. Like that stuff has to be done during your day. So you own your morning, own your evening, and then throughout the day, you have to make sure you don't have reactive speech. Reactive speech is soft talk, like you said, Robert, when we started this one.
Yeah.
And also, there's a gap between when stimulus happens and you respond, because a lot of fathers find themselves in this place of being pretty unregulated, to where when life happens, they just immediately like go to an automatic response versus let me think about how I should respond and go there. Um, so the way I set up the hero's journey is I went off the literary arc, which is like the classic 12-step journey that everyone follows in whether it's Luke Skywalker or friggin' Indiana Jones or whatever it might be. It's, you've got your call to adventure. You've got your refusal of the call. You've got your acceptance of the call, which is where you find a mentor. And that's kind of where I meet people. And then you have this transition into the unknown. And the transition in the unknown then has these multiple steps along the way where you're facing hurdles and death and rebirth and trials and tribulations. And then you come out of that, you gain wisdom, and then you reemerge back into the world. And that's what I base this whole thing off of, is this hero's journey. It's this constant circle where you're choosing adventures, you're facing them head on, you're doing them, and you're challenging yourself across this period of time. And in that, you own your mornings, own your evenings, no reactive speech. To really flush it out, I have endeavors, which are mandatory, and then I have adventures, and adventures are chosen. And the way it works is the endeavors are the owning the morning, owning the evening, no reactive speech, and then being witnessed or being accountable. And there's different ways you can make that happen. Those are the ones that you can't get rid of. They're always there and you have to do them. And then there's a series of adventures based off of things that we would either want to add to our lives or remove from our lives that would help you be a better man. Things like avoiding pornography or avoiding alcohol or, what are some other ones? The one I said, hugging each family member for 10 seconds every day and telling them you love them, calling old friends once a week, setting up one intentional night per week to meet with your spouse. Um, there's a big list of them, but you choose 3 adventures, 3 to 5, depending on how adventurous you're feeling. And that's on you. So the way it starts is you sign a contract, you get your endeavors, you choose your adventures, and then you commit to 30 successful days. And then you work your way through those 30 successful days. And the way it works is you can't fail. It's 30 successful days, which means it might take you 50 days. So if you fail a day, then you just tack another day on. It has to be a successful day. And that just goes to show, like, that's how life works. Like, you don't just have this clean, perfect success rate. You also don't get to fucking give up. like this is, and it's not, and so the endeavors you have to keep through the whole time, but the adventures are such that if you fail an adventure 2 days in a row, then you have to remove it from your adventure list because it means you weren't ready for that adventure. And you could come back and do it another time, but not this time. But you have to keep the endeavors, which is own your morning, own your evening, no reactive speech, and the being witnessed portion of it. And then you basically, at the end of it, you get a consistency score, which is your 30 minus the total days it took you. So it's either negative or it's going to be 0 if you made it in exactly 30 days. And then you get an adventure score for the number of adventures you took on board. And then you have that as your little moniker for what you can do. And then the next time you do it, you can add adventures. You can try to be more consistent. You can do whatever you want, but it's a never ending journey. And so that's the hero's journey. And that's what I'm helping men through. And I've got a self-led version of it that you can do on your own, or I've got a cohort version of it, which I've got 10 guys going through right now. And we're actually finishing our last week in it. And it's pretty fucking rad because we call in each week and we're like, how you doing? How you doing? Okay, it's going here. Oh, where were your wins? Oh, what happened there? Oh, you were tempted by pornography? Great. Way to check out. Way to catch yourself and move back into it. And like, dude, it's been pretty cool, man. And I just talked for like 40 minutes straight, but that's the hero's journey. That's what I'm currently working on. But essentially, it's providing a training ground for you to continue to see improvement as a man and as a father, and doing it in a very intentional means, with some very strong guidelines around own your morning, own your evening, choose your adventures through the midday.
Since you're coming to the end of this current spiral of the hero's journey with these
Yeah.
10 guys, what are some of the most unexpected things that you have seen, positive things, growth things, from these guys coming out the other side, and some things that you expected, but it's really cool to see that it's happening?
Sure. Yeah, I think the biggest, most surprising one for me was every single of the 10 men, because there's a big list of adventures. Every single one chose the hug my family for 10 minutes a day, or 10 seconds a day.
10 minutes.
And 10, not 10 minutes, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. That would be nuts. That's a whole different challenge. If you've done any eye gazing, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But 10 seconds a day and telling them you love them, like every single man chose that. And it's been like eye-opening for them how long that is how awkward it initially felt and how much they currently love it and will probably continue to do it forever. And myself included. Cause I threw that one in there. I was like, this would probably be a good idea. I should do this more. Why not have a challenge around it? And it's wild to see what family members hang on like and just won't let go. And then what ones are like immediately like try to struggle and then they're like, wait a second, no, I'm here, this is okay, because it's new. Like my whole family asked me like, what do you why are you going somewhere, like what's going on, like that was the questions around it. And every single one guy that I'm working with has kind of said similar things, is like that some of the kids didn't know what to do with it and then they finally started to like ease into it and kind of feel that calm and have just loved it. So like that was the most surprising one for me. um I think that the thing that I was, you know, pleasantly surprised about, but also kind of knew was going to happen is that people are recognizing the value of an early wake up. People who are like night owls who have been very tired for the first week or two of this, had a time where they would miss what they were doing. So like they would screw up, like their kid woke up two times in the middle of the night, so they ended up sleeping past their normal wake up. And then they got up and were like, I missed my time. I want my time. And the next day they were craving that early morning wake up. And it's such a big mental shift because they knew that that's when they got their peace. Their body was just so much more regulated when they had it that now they've kind of built this pattern around it. And I knew that that would happen because it happened for me, but it's cool to watch it happen because now I've got a group of 10 guys who are recognizing the value of having their own time. And that can transcend this challenge period. Like we get so wrapped up and never disassociating or never not disassociating, never detaching from all of the stimulation that we're under. So that was another big great one for me that I've
Yeah.
loved watching.
Yeah, and what are some of the biggest, changes that you've noticed and the guys notice when that morning ritual time comes to an end and the family wakes up? What's different versus, "Oh, I wake up at the same time that as the rest of them?"
Presence, 100% presence, right? Because if you're getting up and go 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 and you're just getting the things done, then you're not present. You're not in the moment. You're just thinking about what the next task you have is, whether it's getting them ready for school, whether it's, cooking breakfast really quick, whatever it is. So when you're awake and have been awake a while and you've relaxed and you've wrote stuff down or you're reading a book and they wake up, you can be there when they wake up. And you can see them walk into the room and you can say hello. And that connection, whether it's to your wife or to your kids, is dramatically different. And like that's the bigger takeaways that I'm looking for from this entire thing is making men who are present. And that's the real thing that we um bring away from this whole process is a deeper sense of presence. And I think that morning routine is absolutely clutch. And then the evening routine is too, because what you'll realize is that if you after dinner you turn your devices off, you find yourself sitting there and you're like, well, what am I going to do now? Like what do I fill this time with? And you end up like picking up your guitar a little more and you didn't, and sitting in the living room and reading a book where your family is and, like just being around your kids and watching them play in the yard and all of these things bring such profound joy once you can recognize them and be present in them. But the initial week or two, you're bored and you're like it feels like crawly where you're like, I should be doing something. And it's like, well, no, I shouldn't. And I should be being present. Like I should be here for my family. And that's the point. Like that's the point of all of this is to be present.
It's one of my favorite sayings, and it's not mine. It's you're not a human doing, you're a human being, and that is actually
Yeah.
what your family needs from you.
Yes.
I don't know if it was you, if it was Dan Doty, but it was like just if you just shut up and slow down, you pay attention, they're gonna tell you everything that they need from you. And there's nothing that I love more than that moment that you just talked about after morning ritual, and I hear my kids' little hatch light birds turn on at 6:30, and I'm just here, and I can just get on the ground and kneel, and they can just come in and hug me. And my son is the one that hangs out.
Yeah.
He's the hugger. My wife is like, "You made him just like you," and I'm like, "I know." So he'll like we'll hug it out for 5 minutes, and just be there together, and on the weekends when I don't do that, it feels like you described. It's like I need to get breakfast ready, we need to get out to the grocery store, we need to get all these things done, and we're missing out on that connection and that presence where actual relationship is made. The same thing in the evenings. It's so easy, especially when we're running a business, and I think most guys that are coming in here are running their own business or they really want to. It's so easy to pick this thing up and be like, "Oh, I have this task that I need to get done. I have this person that I need to message." But if we put that away and we lock that up, especially when it's we're gonna get ready for bedtime or the kids have gone to sleep and you're like, "Well, what do I do now?" Well, there's so
Yeah.
many options. I love
So,
nothing more than when my son is like, "Can we build Legos now?" And I'm like, "Dude, I got my Legos from 1991. Let's go. Let's look up some old sets. Let's build stuff together." Or just laying on the floor in October, I got my guitar out, like you said, and I just lay on the floor and I play it. And my 11-month-old, like, he likes to climb up and put his head on the guitar and feel the vibrations. And I'm like, this is just the best thing. And last year, and my son's 5 now, I read him The Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers, and he was like, "Can we read Frodo tonight?" Instead of being on our phones or being distracted, it was just like, "Dude, let's you wanna read this cool book?" And he was like, "Yes. Where's the giant spider?" And I'm like, "We're gonna get to it, man. There's so
mhm.
much."
Yeah. Well, you know what's wild though? Everything we're mentioning right now, this is available to every man. Like the this kind of luxury, like to not be on your phones is like it I think it's going to be the new wave of luxury. It's like if you're paying attention, like the capacity to not stay signed in, so to speak. Like our nervous systems and our attention spans have all been so co-opted by media that it's very hard to disconnect. And that's, you know, part of the reason I built the hero's journey the way I did is I have a retreat for men. It's like a 4 day retreat, and it's awesome. But you have to show up in my house. You have to pay $2,000, and I can take you out in the forest and I take their phones, right? So I take their phones away and I give them no responsibility, and I cook for them, and they camp under the stars and they reflect and they do this big journey. And I was thinking, I was like, how do I get men to do this at home? Like, how do I get them to do something similar? And how can I break this up to where they actually get some of these benefits for themselves at their own, at their like on their own, or you know, not having to show up to my house and pay $2,000. Like, is there a way that we can build some of this ritual into life? And that's why I came up with the hero's journey the way I did. It was like my attempt to be like, okay, we're going to create the times that allow us to connect with our family and to let go of all of our responsibility and do all these things, but recognize the fact that we still have to be a freaking man and dad and step in there and do our jobs and slave for the man or whatever we got going on, and the stresses we're under, they don't disappear, but we just can navigate them in a way that is profoundly different, and then take pleasure on both the front and the back end, and joy and peace in a way that is profoundly different than if we're not doing those things.
Yeah, I think of, the old shows that were on probably when we were growing up of the dad coming home from work. We can call them 1950s dad trope, and like everything is good in the world because he's sitting on the couch reading his newspaper or in his recliner. He's never on
Right.
the couch, always in the recliner. And the son could come up and talk to him and be like, "Come sit in my lap, son," and he'd hang out. Everything's good in the world when dad is that. When dad's able to be present and just chill and just open and receptive to what's happening around him. But I see the model of dad that's out in pop culture now is the dad who's like rushing and he doesn't know how to take care of the kids, but he's rushing from one thing to the next, always distracted, and that's so ungrounding for a kid and for a wife.
Yeah. Well, I mean, too, like think about that old dad too. Like a common trope there was they had a big old whiskey in his hand or a beer or something like that, and it's like I get the value. I love me a good whiskey and I love me beer, but like I think those are things that you earn by being extremely regulated, but people use them as a tool for not having to feel and not actually having to be present. And they are often far more abused than they are used effectively. And it's just like this thing. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have my whiskey to unwind, and it's like, well, the whiskey is gonna make it waking up a lot harder. It's going to literally poison you. Like there is more and more evidence supporting how bad it is for you. So and if you have any like stuff that you haven't processed, your brain can't process it once you have this whiskey. It makes sleep worse, it makes health worse, it makes all this other stuff. So like it should be
Yeah.
something that you can you can utilize as a tool occasionally because the social component of it is very profound. And it's like it's I don't know, like I enjoy it. Like I enjoy some whiskey here and there, but if I were to offer you health advice, it's probably one of the worst things you could do. And especially if you have a tendency to overuse it, which would be even 2 drinks a night is like it's too much. Like you're not having to actually process the stuff that's going on in your days, and you're not there for your family in the way that you could be. And waking up the next morning at 4:30 is going to be next to impossible if this is your routine. My guess would be.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my last drink was probably back in October, and I was in a boat where I love a good bourbon on the rocks. I
Yeah, same,
love I love a good craft IPA. We've got a lot here in Chicago. I
same.
love them. It just didn't feel like it was serving me anymore. My whole body when I would go to reach for it, and I have like 4 a week, and it's the same thing. It's like it's just something that I do on the weekends. I just have a beer. Like, it's just fun. My whole body, every time, it was just this whole closure, and it was my body telling me, "You don't actually want this. You don't actually
Right,
want this." And for me, it
right.
was if I had one, I knew that for the next 24 to 48 hours, I would feel like just not showing up, and I would feel depressed and more moody. And for me, I have really sensitive body and skin, so I break out really easily. If I have one drink, I start to break out, get it on my face, I get big ones on my skin. And one, that
Mm.
that hurts, but two, that's literally that's your body pushing toxins out. It's
Yeah,
literally that's most of what acne is. Like, your body's like, here's this thing that's not supposed to be in here. Let's get this out. Like, push it out.
sure.
And it's so easy to justify.
For sure.
But since October, life's been great. And yeah, things have been really hard. We have had some of our most challenging times in our life over the past 15 months. And October to now, we've had some challenging times as well. And I wasn't able to reach for a drink. Instead, I don't let myself reach for coffee, which is another really easy one to cope with.
Mm,
I struggled with porn for a long time. Up until probably COVID, I was like, this needs to stop, because I realized how that was affecting me too. And it became, well, I actually need to do something with this. I'm going to allow myself to feel this and do something about it, instead of just, well, numbing out to it and pushing it down and burying it and pretending that what I'm feeling is not there. And there's so much that opens up. There's so much that opened up for me, but there's so much that opens up for you when you can start holding that discomfort and acknowledging that it's there, and then we'll doing something about it.
totally. Totally. And I think that to anyone listening to this, like I think most men I know have had different relationships with all the things you just mentioned. Pornography, alcohol, what was the other thing you said?
Coffee, caffeine. Man, it's so
Coffee,
if you
caffeine, yeah.
came from the
So like
fitness realm, too. It's so fashionable. It's like, which pre-workout has the most caffeine in it?
sure, sure, sure. Yeah, I'm actually my body has self-regulated that down to 1 cup a day. I used to be like 2 pots a day, but I can't. I was up until like 2 weeks ago. I was able to do 2 cups every morning, and it was great. It was my ritual. I loved it, and um, I have a theory on coffee rituals too that I could tell you about if you wanted to. But
Yes.
these days I can only do 1 cup. Like I like sit down. I have 1 cup, and I love it. I love it as a ritual for me. It's in my understanding of human physiology and the deleterious effects of coffee, I actually think it doesn't do that much. I know people are more or less sensitive to it, but in terms of its balance between negative and positive health effects, I see it more on the positive side than on the negative side. I just can't handle more more than one
Yeah.
cup.
What happens? What happens for you?
I get all jittery. Like I get
Yep.
like I get all jittery and my like it get all antsy and my brain can't think like the right way it wants to. And when I had my kids, my second and third kid, I was like, no joke, 2 pots a day, no problem, just handle that like dead straight, like no shaking of the hand. But as I slowly weaned myself off of it, it's like 1 cup. Um, and I love it as a ritual. And mine's at like pretty early in the morning. Have a glass of water, then I have a cup of coffee, but then I have have you seen those beef bone broth sachets that they have at
Yeah.
Costco? They're wonderful.
I haven't
Like
seen the Costco.
they're these like little like you just rip open the top and you pour it in and it's like powder and you just mix it up in hot water and they're like it sounds gross but it's wonderful. It's like
I love it.
it's my morning drink on like a cool like cooler morning. I'll do the coffee and then I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, I'm gonna have a little beef broth. I don't think I'm not a big into substances having magical effects. Like supplements don't do shit for me. Like I'm a super low responder to everything. Like the closest thing to a supplement having effect for me would be like taking actual drugs. Like when people are talking about ashwagandha and clarity of the mind and blah, I'm like, nah, that doesn't do jack to me. That for me is not a world I dive into. But I love me some good bone broth just 'cause of how it tastes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very similar in that in COVID, I was like, I have to take coffee out entirely because I've been reliant on this substance since I was 15. So I took it out for
Mm,
about 6 months and had to figure out who the hell was I without this, which was a really interesting thing. And now I'm a one, maybe two coffeeers. I've got this delicious little organic instant that I do in the middle of the day. It has like nothing in it. I love the taste and I like a little bit of butter in it because I'm weird like that. Like it
love it.
blended in there. It's got to be Kerrygold. It's got the right amount of savoriness to it. But one in the morning, and if I have more than that, similar to you, I'm jittery.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that I'm very firm on is if you are struggling with self regulation, you got to take it out for a little while. You got to take it
For
out for
sure.
a little while and get your nervous
Mm.
system coherent first, and then we can start to working it
Mm.
back in and figure out how to use it intentionally, like what you're talking about. I can have one.
I'm gonna add that. Like, I'm gonna add that as one of the adventures, because I think for certain people that's gonna be a really good one.
Mhm.
Adding removal. Okay, minimizing coffee intake. I don't think going cold turkey is necessarily good for everyone, but reducing coffee intake.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I like bringing in green tea or something like that. It's totally different for guys. Even matcha, there's a little ritual to it that you can have.
sure.
What is Paul Chek, one of my mentors, talks about how, okay, you're going to have withdrawal here. You're going to go through a withdrawal. It's going to hurt for 48 hours. If it's really bad, you can keep a coffee bean in your pocket and chew it. Don't swallow it because it'll take that headache edge off. But for me,
Mm,
I really learned who I was without that
interesting.
because my energy,
Interesting.
my drive was totally different. And I had to start to understand who am I? What's my energy? What's my drive? How do I show up in the world without this substance bringing me up all the time? And
Sure.
the other thing before we start continuing to move forward here, ashwagandha, so similar to you in that most supplements when I take them, I'm like, eh, I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, exactly.
But I really
This is
wanted
expensive. Why am I taking this?
ashwagandha.
Yeah.
I really wanted it to work. And finally, I found a liquid one that was effective, and I took it before I went for a hike once, and I was like, "Did we take drugs? I feel so good right now." And I've been I've been taking that since then. I put it in my coffee because I know if my coffee, if I'm a little on edge, it'll make me too jittery, and I swear it helps. That's one that I've
Hey,
felt, but man, I really
you
had to
know
make
what?
it happen.
I'm so happy that you found one that works for you and you believe in it, and that's amazing. Like you do you. I'm all for people experimenting and trying. I just like I've been let down by like every supplement I've tried, and when it boils down to it, it's such a snake oily world. Like the entire supplement industry is based on selling you shit you don't need, and it's so unregulated. It's like even stuff that could be helpful is so minimally helpful. It's like the cherry on top to a pre-existing great diet, but it's sold to you as like, this is the thing that'll change your life. And I'm like, I'm just going to ignore this industry entirely because it's such BS. Like
Here's this superfood. You need to have
yeah.
this.
You're like, it's called food. You just eat food. You eat real food. Like, does it have
Real
an
whole
ingredients
food.
list? Then don't eat it. Okay. Look on the
Yeah,
back. Does it say
a steak.
banana?
A
Great.
steak doesn't have to tell you it's high in protein. You know.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
What's next? What was next? Where do you have an opinion on creatine?
Creatine, sure. I mean, I think it's a new fad, but it's not a new fad. It's like the most studied and documented supplement that exists. Like, it's that and protein have been studied deeper than like anything else on like real clinical trials. And if there was something that makes a difference in a lot of people, it's creatine. Does it have all the mega advantages that it's currently saying? I don't think so. I think it has more of advantages than other stuff. But it's been studied and known to have success. I don't think it's the thing it's cracked up to be that people are touting it as. The same way I don't think an excessive consumption of protein is the thing that it's cracked up to be that people are talking about right now. But should people have protein? And if you want to supplement with something, should it probably be creatine? Sure. Like there are poor responders to everything. So maybe keep an eye on that. But there's also a lot of studies saying that creatine does good stuff for a lot of people. So if you want to take some creatine, go for it.
Yeah, Dr. Rhonda Patrick. I was listening to her talk about how
She goes
25.
hard.
She goes hard. I was like, I'm gonna try the 25-gram thing on the days that the kids wake me up overnight, and I'm like, I don't know if it does anything, but creatine loading apparently.
Get after it, bro. No, I like I don't I for years I didn't even have the discipline to take the stuff in the right amounts. So like every day I just be like, oh shit, I forgot it again, because like it just didn't matter to me. And then once I finally started doing it, I started to find things that were a little bit more effective. I think super high doses of fish oil tend to help me. I think creatine, I was a decent responder to creatine, so I took creatine for a while. It's just like it's not I don't care about what I look like, and I just care about the performance benefits. And it wasn't making me feel anything other than bigger. Like I just felt like I maintained muscle a little bit better. And it's like I don't need to maintain muscle. I have that. I just want to be more performance oriented, and the type of performance that I do, creatine's such like the short end of that. I want more sustained stuff. And I felt like creatine was not helping with that. I just felt heavier all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I've felt heavier. I do know that I had a major problem that happened since last October in that I've grown out of all my clothes. Like most of my wardrobe, when I put it on, I'm like, baby get. So I've been like, I don't want to spend money
Well,
on my own
you,
clothes, but I have to get bigger clothes now.
well, you got to stop buying mediums, dude. Like you got to
No,
start
right?
getting those
I
real
know.
t-shirts, okay?
I gotta get the real sizes now. Um, back into our evening ritual thing. You did something massive, which was going from being the night wolf to getting up in the morning. And I don't know if you're a morning guy now, but you're living that life.
I am.
How do you make that
I
switch?
am. I
How do you
yeah.
do that?
Y- Um, you challenge yourself and you give yourself a solid month, of just doing it. I think the combination of committing to the no screens at night, as well as forcing yourself to wake up, like the first 2 weeks sucks. Like it just genuinely sucks. Like you're like, I don't like this. Like I'm getting up, I'm hitting my alarm, I'm standing up and I'm walking out and I like sit there for a second. I'm like, I don't like this. Um, but once you get past that, well, not even once you get past that, as you're going through that, you're going to be tired. Like you'll have evenings where you're just tired. And I think that that's a big important thing. Like if you're tired in the evening, that's a good thing. Like as a human being, you should be tired in the evening. That was a time where we wound down, and we generally have stayed awake in the evenings these days due to artificial light. Like we stay awake because we can stare at screens, we can flick on lights, we can do all kinds of stuff. And I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm the type of guy who's going to put candles all over my house and only live by candlelight. But it's like there's plenty of time where like I find myself, and I found myself at like on this challenge, since we're doing like no screens after this time and doing all this stuff. I'll have these weekends where I go and work away from my family. So there's no one I have a responsibility to, but I'll have dinner at, be done at 7 o'clock, and I'll get back to my hotel room and I'll be sitting there and I'm like, I don't have anything to do. Like normally I would watch TV, or I would stimulate myself somehow. That sounded inappropriate, but
I was just
on
gonna go
on
with it.
point. Yeah, but I can't. So I'll just be like, maybe I should go to bed. And then I'll go to bed. Like I'll like lie in bed and I'll put my head down and I'll think for an hour, or I'll think for 20 minutes or 5 minutes, and I'll go to sleep. Um, and that's probably really good for me. Like I'll wake up refreshed, I'll have a better day, like my body heals. Like I think a lot of people don't recognize that the only time, or the biggest time, your body's healing is while it's sleeping. This goes for psychological healing as well as physiological healing. When you're breaking down your body, like where it recovers is as you enter deeper sleep. Like that's where you sort out thoughts. That's where add intelligence. That's where you change, musculature situations. Like it's in that recovery that you get that. So I think to answer your initial question is you have to grin and bear it for the first week or two. I think coupling it with going to bed early and like not stimulating yourself at night, because you'll fall into old patterns of just being stimulated and stay up late. And then if there's something in the morning that you can look forward to, that's huge too. So like if you've got your special little mate drink that you love, like that you can wake up and have, or your special coffee drink, if that's you're going to make your special little bulletproof coffee and do your thing. Dude, go for it. Like I think giving yourself an incentive that you get excited to wake up, like a book that you're only allowed to read in the mornings, like, or if you're like me and you've got a sauna, I only do my sauna in the morning before my family wakes up. So I've like, okay, this is really great for me because I can get up and I can turn my sauna on and I walk back over and I get to sit and wait for 40 minutes for it to, heat up. And like I look forward to that every morning, and it builds this routine around it that becomes something I get to look forward to. So I would say that would be the biggest way to do it. But know that it is possible. It took me till I was 38 years old, 39 years old for me to become a morning person. And now it's like, now I'm a diehard morning person. I'm not like morning person who goes and runs, like I said, or lifts weights, but I will wake up in the morning because I think it's my most valuable time.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just so much more. You can do more in that time, that like 1 hour to 90 minutes in the morning that most people do in their whole day. And then by the time your kids wake up, you've done so much. And like you said, we can just be here for them then. I am curious, when it comes to the evenings, what is one or two non-negotiables with the evening ritual for you? Not just for you, but for the guys that you have coming in, like going through the hero's journey.
Yeah. Um, I mean, right now, the only non-negotiable on the hero's journey is that you have to have we call it a digital sunset, where you basically you have to take your phones and you turn them off, and put them down and kind of get after it. And there's no working. So there's no like logging back in and doing a little bit more work or doing all these other things. The What that creates, and it's not like a non-negotiable, but it forces like this, is you're with your family and you are with them. So like uh you'll have dinner with them because that's the point of it, and then afterwards you're like all there. So whatever your kids are into, if they want to hang, you can hang. You're sitting and being. So I would say being with the people who are the closest to you, um and actually being present with them, though those end up being non-negotiables because they're there. But I think the only real non-negotiable that I have is just the getting rid of the device, because that's the easiest time to dive into it, right? Like you're so tired, you don't want to do anything like do anything. And this is the epitome of almost doing something but not really doing anything, is just scrolling, you know? You're like, and it just stimulates you just enough. And I mean, if you understand how dopamine works, at the end of the day, your brain is kind of squeeged out on dopamine. It's very hard to be motivated to do things at the end of the day. But the amount of dopamine you get from social media and watching stuff is so high that your mind can still dive into that. It's like such an aggressive squeeze on that dopamine trigger that it's like the last little bit of toothpaste being pushed out of a tube, you know? Like you're getting after it, and like that's your evenings if you're sitting on a if you're sitting on a phone or if you're scrolling through stuff. Whereas if you don't do that, you end up realizing that you're actually pretty tired, and you can just kind of be and be okay.
Yeah, it's I love the digital sunset idea, and one of the things that we don't realize is that you got the screen or you got your phone out in front of you, especially after that sun has gone down, your pupils are so wide to take in any light, but then you've got this in front of you, and your brain's like, "Oh, well, it must be 12 o'clock midday right now. So we don't need to make melatonin right now. What do we need to make that for? Here's some more cortisol. Let's wake you up a little bit." And that's probably one of the hardest things for people when they're trying to go to sleep and trying to get up first thing in the morning is we have to break that habit because you're shining a sun directly in your face that whole time. And then the dopamine thing, you're taking the phone out. We're also taking out alcohol and any other counterfeit comforts that you might be immersing yourself into. You have that little bit of boredom at the beginning, but then you start to actually get natural dopamine hits. You're hugging your son for 10 seconds or 10 minutes. You're hugging your wife for 10 seconds or 10 minutes, however, whatever level of adventure that you're going to go on. And you you're actually resetting your body's ability to secrete dopamine to those things, but to find joy in those things as well from putting this thing away.
Mhm.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy how much this has distracted us from living our lives and being present. And it's hard to argue that it's not amazing how cool the phone is, and you can listen to music and you can find art and you can stay connected and you can do work from anywhere in the world, and you can literally understand any piece of knowledge or not even understand it, but access any piece of knowledge that's ever existed, like with the click of a button. But there are, I mean, to quote Spider-Man, you've got the with great power comes great responsibility. Like the responsibility you have to limit your interactions with this is purely like right now on setting a lifestyle around that, because willpower alone won't do it. You have to intentionally design a lifestyle that promotes the being present in the real world and unincentivizes the or puts very strict boundaries on the relationship you have to this ever powerful device. And that's hard to do, which is why I created the hero's journey.
There it is. Full circle, entering the ordinary
Yeah.
world with
Yeah, coming back
with
in,
the
baby.
gift. All right, brother. Well, I think that brings us to time. I feel like we've covered a lot. We could probably go on for another 2 hours, but I want to respect your time and get these guys
Mhm.
out of here with the most impactful nuggets. Anything else? Anything else that you wanted to hit today?
No, man. Just love your family. I mean, it's hard sometimes with all the stressors you're under, and it's so hard to step back and realize how good little things are. Like even and people say this all the time, like you read a book like Man's Search for Meaning, right? Where you guys going through a camp in Auschwitz, and you're like, oh, my life's a lot better than that, you know? But it's really hard when we are so buried in the daily to have that perspective. So it requires us to step back sometimes and reset a bit. And that's what I urge people to do is like find a day or a time in your day you can just own it and be and not stimulate. And it'll allow you to reflect in a way that even though you are under a lot of stressors, it's going to allow you to see some of the greatness that you actually have. Even if it feels like everything's fucking abysmal, there are pieces of your life that are great. even if it's just the fact that you get to have a warm shower. Like, cool. Like that you get to have a warm shower. This is the first time in human history you've been able to have a warm shower. Like this was reserved
whenever
for
you want
kings up
to.
until like 50 years ago. You know, like so take some time, take some peace. Don't be fully distracted all the time. If and I understand that there's a time and place for distraction, but try to step back and look at what you got.
Feel like that's all we need to carry out of this today. Take a moment, step back, be here, and look what you got. All right, brother. Pat Barber, founder of the Fathers Guild, and this hero's journey. Where can
Woo!
we find you? Where can we get involved?
Go to thefathersguild.com, and you can check out all of my stuff there. That'll show you the links to the hero's journey, everything I got going on. And then you can also find me on the Fathers Guild at YouTube, Fathers Guild at Instagram. I think I'm on TikTok and Twitter as well. I pay someone to post there for me, but I don't actually go on those platforms. But you can find me there if you're on those platforms.
Thanks everybody for being here. Thank all of you for tuning in and have an uncommon day. Peace.